I said, what a great idea, not just for RCR, but for our sport. You know, here Cleetus, which is...
Nobody predicted this. The 80-year-old owner of Richard Childress Racing back behind the wheel after 57 years. Cleetus McFarland crashing out while fighting for the lead. Ryan Preece finishing second with a flat tire story and a perfect joke. And a local short track racer named Zach Walker starting dead last and winning the entire race. Friday night at Stafford Motor Speedway delivered one of the wildest stories of the year. Before we get into how the night unfolded, make sure you are subscribed with notifications turned on, because stories like this one do not come around often, and you do not want to miss what is coming next in the world of NASCAR. Now, to understand why this night mattered so much, you first have to understand who Richard Childress really is. If you are a younger NASCAR fan, you probably know him one way and one way only. He is the Hall of Fame team owner. He is the man standing on pit road while Richard Childress Racing drivers chased checkered flags. He is the businessman behind championships, behind legendary machines, and behind some of the most famous moments in the history of the sport. But that image, as powerful as it is, only tells half the story. Because long before the trophies, long before the championships, and long before the empire, Richard Childress was a race car driver. And not a wealthy one. Between 1969 and 1981, Childress made 285 starts in the NASCAR Cup Series. He recorded 76 top 10 finishes during that stretch. He never won a single race, not one. He was an independent driver in an era when independence survived on grit, borrowed parts, and stubbornness. Every weekend was a fight to keep the operation alive. Every dollar mattered. And that struggle is exactly what he remembered when he thought back to his very first trip to Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut all the way back in 1969. When reporters asked him about that first visit, Childress did not talk about lap times. He did not talk about finishing positions. He talked about survival. We didn't have much money at all, Childress said. We had an old '54 Ford truck that we hauled the race car with. We got up here and had a lot of fun. We didn't really have any idea what we were doing. Think about that for a moment. One of the most successful and powerful men in the history of American motorsports, and his defining memory of Stafford Motor Speedway is an old 1954 Ford truck and a team that was figuring everything out as it went along. That race in 1969 was a NASCAR Grand America Series event, and while Childress battled up front that day, it was Pete Hamilton who took the checkered flag. Then, in 1981, Childress made the decision that changed NASCAR forever. He climbed out of the driver's seat for good, and he handed the famous number 3 car to a hungry young driver named Dale Earnhardt. That single decision launched one of the greatest partnerships the sport has ever seen, a partnership that produced championships, legendary victories, and a legacy that still defines Richard Childress Racing to this day. From that point forward, Childress was an owner. His last competitive appearance of any kind came in a Winston Legends exhibition back in 1995. After that, the driving chapter of his life appeared to be closed permanently, until Garrett Mitchell came along. If you only follow traditional NASCAR coverage, that name might not mean much to you. But to millions of people online, Garrett Mitchell is better known as Cleetus McFarland, one of the biggest automotive creators on YouTube. He built an enormous following around grassroots racing, wild automotive experiments, and events that pack grandstands with fans who might never attend a traditional race. And here is where the story gets even more interesting. Cleetus McFarland is not just an internet personality anymore. In March 2026, Mitchell signed a developmental deal with Richard Childress Racing. The introduction that made it happen came from Childress's own grandson, Ty Dillon. Mitchell now runs the number 33 Tommy's Express Chevrolet on a part-time basis in NASCAR's second-tier series. So when Cleetus McFarland began preparing for his signature event at Stafford Motor Speedway, the New England 900, he had a direct line to the boss himself. And he used it. He invited Richard Childress to race. Now, you might expect that convincing an 80-year-old Hall of Fame owner to strap into a race car after decades away would take weeks of persuasion. It did not. It took almost nothing at all. I talked to Cleetus, and when he asked me to do it, I said, "Yeah, I'll go," Childress said. "I thought it'd just be fun." That was it. No hesitation, no committee meetings, no lengthy negotiations. A racer was asked if he wanted to race, and the racer said yes. Before the event, Childress made his mindset even clearer. "The race fans love racing and just enjoy it," he said. "Look forward to coming." And then he added a promise, "We'll have a lot of fun, I assure you." So what exactly is the New England 900? It is a 90-lap exhibition race held at Stafford Motor Speedway, and it is unlike anything else on the calendar. Every driver competes in an identical nitrous-powered Ford Crown Victoria. The field is a deliberate collision of worlds, NASCAR professionals, drifting stars, and automotive creators with massive online followings all racing the same equipment on the same historic half-mile. The 2026 field included Ryan Preece, the defending winner of the event. It included Ty Dillon. It included NASCAR driver Jesse Love, drifting legend Vaughn Gittin Jr., Bobby Earnhardt, Downforce Danny, Squirrel McNutt, and of course Cleetus McFarland himself. And the fans responded. Every single grandstand seat at Stafford Motor Speedway was sold out, with a crowd of more than 10,000 people. The news of Childress entering the race was first shared by Jeff Gluck of The Athletic, who noted that Childress had picked up a brand new fire suit for the occasion. Childress's Crown Victoria was painted all black with the iconic number 3 on the door, the same number he once handed to Dale Earnhardt. And once the news broke, the pre-race storyline practically wrote itself thanks to Ryan Preece. To understand the joke Preece made, you need to remember one of the most infamous moments in modern NASCAR history. Back in 2011, after a Truck Series race at Kansas Speedway, Richard Childress confronted Kyle Busch. Before doing so, Childress removed his watch and handed it to his grandson. What followed was a headlock and a punch that instantly became NASCAR legend. 15 years later, that watch is still famous. So when Jeff Gluck asked Ryan Preece about racing against Childress at the New England 900, Preece could not resist. "Hell yeah," Preece said. "Yeah, so I already told him to hold my watch." Gluck jokingly asked whether Preece was planning to rough up the 80-year-old. Preece immediately backed off. "Rough him up? Yeah, I don't want to rough him up." When Gluck fired back that Childress might be the one doing the roughing up, Preece laughed and surrendered completely. "Well, he can hold my watch then," Preece joked. "But no, I mean, he's coming to my place." Actually, when I was talking to him a few weeks ago, because I was pretty pumped, I saw that he was going to run it. I'm happy. He's going to enjoy that experience, but he told me he had actually gone there and raced there way back in the day. And so, that was interesting to find out. That phrase, "he's coming to my place," matters. Stafford Motor Speedway is Ryan Preece's home track. He is a former SK Modified champion there, with 38 career feature wins at the facility. He won the New England 900 in 2025 after a last-lap battle with Greg Biffle. Preece also offered the perfect description of the machines everyone would be driving. What I'll say is that the Crown Vics are like big go-karts, like an adult version of a go-kart. By the way, if you remember watching that 2011 Watch Moment live, drop a comment below and tell us where you were when it happened. Then came Friday night, July 17th, 2026. The engines fired. The field rolled onto the historic half-mile, and more than 10,000 fans watched an 80-year-old man in a black number 3 car go racing for the first time at this track since 1969. Childress's approach was patient and disciplined. He was not there to prove he could outrun drivers decades younger than him. He was not there to force risky moves. His plan was simple: stay in the race, stay out of trouble, and enjoy every single lap. Through the opening stages, that is exactly what he did. Up front, the racing was frantic from the very beginning. Jackstand Jimmy led early. J.A. Diesel took over on lap 10. Kevin Smith grabbed the lead and traded it back and forth with Ty Dillon, including a crossover move on lap 36 that showed just how seriously these drivers were racing. Ryan Preece methodically worked forward and took the lead on lap 52, then swapped it with Ty Dillon through heavy lap traffic, at one point going 3 wide through the middle of slower cars. and then came lap 62. The moment that nearly ended the entire comeback story. Entering turn 2, the number 3 car broke loose. Childress spun and made contact with the outside wall. The caution flag flew immediately, and the sold-out crowd held its breath. Was the night over? Would the car be loaded onto the trailer? Would the story end with a crumpled fender and a what might have been? The answer came quickly. The damage was not enough to end his night. Once the cleanup was complete, Richard Childress brought the black number 3 back onto the track and kept racing. He restarted, kept his nose clean, and ran every remaining lap. When the checkered flag waved, Childress crossed the finish line in 10th place, having completed all 90 laps. At 80 years old, after hitting the wall, he did not park the car. He got back in line and finished what he started, while Childress was quietly writing the feel-good story of the night. The front of the field was descending into absolute chaos. Cleetus McFarland had worked his way into contention and made an aggressive move on Ryan Preece to take the lead on a restart. Preece fought back and reclaimed the lead on lap 72. Then, while battling Preece again, Cleetus made contact and slammed into the turn 2 wall, ending his night and bringing out another caution. But the drama between the two was not finished. During the caution laps that followed, the back and forth continued on track, and Preece emerged from the shenanigans with a flat tire, which handed the lead away and shuffled the entire running order. From there, the race became a demolition of expectations. A restart triggered a multi-car pileup going into turn 3. Squirrel McNutt went around with heavy damage before another restart could even be completed. Jay Diesel led. Brad DeBerti took the lead by a nose, then spun coming out of turn 2 and collected several cars with 78 laps complete. Ty Dillon took the lead back under green. And through all of that carnage, one driver kept quietly moving forward. Zach Walker, a local short-track racer who had started the race dead last. Walker climbed into second, and on lap 86, he got a massive run down the backstretch and took the lead from Ty Dillon. Dillon refused to go away. On lap 89, Dillon moved to the outside line and edged ahead by a nose as the two took the white flag. On the final lap, Dillon and Walker touched in turn 2. Dillon got out of shape, and Zach Walker drove onto the checkered flag to win the New England 900, from dead last to victory lane. Ryan Preece, despite the flat tire and everything else, recovered to finish second, with Kevin Smith, Ty Brown, and J.H. Diesel rounding out the top 5. After the race, Preece delivered the perfect closing line on social media. Cleet and I had quite the on-track battle. I was ready to tell RC to hold my watch. But the joke was not the only thing Preece had to say. When reporters asked him about watching an 80-year-old Richard Childress compete, his answer revealed exactly why this night resonated so deeply across the racing world. No, it was badass what he did, Preece said. He was elbows up, swatting flies. He was having a good time. And when asked about the event itself, Preece captured something bigger about what the New England 900 represents. It's very pure. It's very raw, he said, describing a night built around fans, autographs, and racing for the simple joy of it, the way the sport used to be. And that is really the heart of this entire story. Strip away the nitrous kits, the YouTube cameras, and the sold-out grandstands, and what you are left with is a man closing a 57-year circle. In 1969, Richard Childress arrived at Stafford Motor Speedway in an old 1954 Ford truck with almost no money and, in his own words, no real idea what he and his team were doing. In 2026, he returned as one of the most powerful owners in NASCAR history. A man who could spend his Friday nights anywhere in the world in complete comfort. Instead, he chose a grassroots short track in Connecticut. He chose a new fire suit, a stock Ford Crown Victoria, and 90 laps of door-to-door racing against drivers young enough to be his grandchildren. He spun. He hit the wall. And he kept going, all the way to the finish. And he kept going, all the way to the finish. Richard Childress said before the race that he was going to have fun. He promised it, in fact. And after a spin, a wall, a 10th place finish, and one of the loudest ovations Stafford Motor Speedway has heard in years, even the wall could not argue with that. So now the question belongs to you. Should Richard Childress get back behind the wheel again, or was this one perfect, unrepeatable comeback that should stand alone forever? Let us know your take in the comments, hit that like button if this story gave you chills, and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss the stories behind the biggest moments in NASCAR.